Go.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Monday edition of Proline. I'm Dave Cook, Jim Spice is here. Got a bunch of stuff to run through from Sunday as we do our little Monday morning quarterback deal here. And we'll also look ahead to tonight's matchup between the Falcons and Bucks. I did not have a good weekend in college basketball. Really cooled off there. You know, it's going to be peaks and valleys throughout the course of a long season, and I got into a valley this weekend in college basketball. Bulls got off to a good start. I have Marshall. NFL was split. I won easily with the Vikings and lost the game by a point to the Cardinals, which we should have won, but, you know, should have, would have, could have. The NHL stays very hot. Tonight, I've got one game up in college basketball, and I am going to add one shortly, so that'll be up in a little while. And you can check those out anytime at goodplace.com. Go through my notes. Jim, how about you this weekend?
The pro football was slightly positive. Would have been very positive had Pittsburgh covered the 3 instead of tying it. That was really instead of a small profit for the week, it would have been a much bigger profit because that was a big bet. Losing Antonio Brown early certainly didn't help them at all, but it was a good game. It got down to the stupid rule that the officials actually interpreted properly, but the rule is terrible. Anyhow, be that as it may.
I agree with that 100%.
Let's see, college hoops. I'm running 60% exactly right now. 30 wins and 20 losses. That's not bad. And consistently 1, 2, or 3 plays a day. I'm happy with that. And we got the conference games. We'll be starting across the board very soon, and that's always paid off for a higher percentage of wins for me. The Fast Facts program that we have online at DaveJim121817. Just go to that site and check it out. It's pretty easy, and it would take a big explanation to explain all the ratings, but if you look at them, you can see what the lines should be. And that gives you an edge. Now you just add it to whatever your normal handicapping is, and you'll see that you'll show a profit. For specialized inside information type plays that I add to those ratings, which is where I come up with my picks, and our results are pretty darn good. As an example today, Wake Forest is playing at Coastal Carolina. I've got Wake showing to be the better of the 2 teams across the board in every category. So that gives you a little bit of an idea, and it gives you the numbers. It tells you what they are: home, away, neutral, the last 8, the last 4. Check it out. JimFeist.com, Fast Facts. At the top of the line it says going across home, picks, cappers. But across you'll see basketball Fast Facts. And there's click down, the drop down menu, click on Monday, and the Fast Facts will come up, and it's all there, and it's all free. And you can, when it says expanded glance, you can click on the expanded glance, and you will get a look at all their games and what they've done in each individual game. It's a pretty remarkable program, actually. That's what I got going on, Dave.
All right, so let's talk about what took place on the weekend. And NFL favored on the closing line. This isn't against the spread, but outright on the closing line, the team was favored 16-0.
Unbelievable.
If that happens, it's going to be a bad day for the books and a good day for the bettors, and a real good day for teams are bettors. I can't, unless you're, I don't mean this to be insulting, but unless you're a dope, and play 2 zeros and stuff like that, you have to do extremely well if you're a teaser better. I am not a teaser better. Jim, I know you are. you know how you've done with these over the years. I have to assume that you enjoyed some of the results from the team standpoint.
Well, I did, and it's part of my portfolio. I look at investing in sports the same as I do investing in the markets. And I have a portfolio in both instances, and part of my portfolio are teaser opportunities. And I hit a lot of teasers yesterday, and I have a lot of my teasers are still wide open into Atlanta tonight at Pick'em. So I'm looking right now at Atlanta 7, and I've got them at Pick'em. So I have an opportunity there to take 7 and have pick and set up a beautiful middle. I won't do that for the entire bankroll that I have out there for that, but we're looking at a pretty good 5-figure number, and I will probably go in about a third of that and play that middle. So that's what I do.
Makes some sense, and as long as it pays off, that's the bottom line. Looking at some individual games yesterday, then the Rams made a very strong statement at Seattle. They're a legit team, and if you watch Jared Goff, boy, is he good. He's going to be a superstar this season. You watch him go through his progressions and his reads. He's only in his second year, and he looks like a polished veteran out there now. The improvement in this guy from last season is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you know, him and Carson Wentz, who's unfortunately out at this, I would have to say that about both of them. The one thing that we were looking at a couple of years ago is as the quarterbacks in the league get older and they start to move on into another part of their lives, and then of course injuries, it looked like we were really running into a situation with a lot of young quarterbacks that just weren't ready to play in the NFL. Well, now some of them are starting to look like they belong in the NFL, and they look pretty damn good. We had one, a young guy, Deshaun Watson, went out with a terrible injury, and that curtailed him, and then we lost Wentz. And fortunately, Goff is still there. And, you know, we are replacing those quarterbacks that have moved on either through injury or age. And it's starting to look a lot better. And Goff is one of them. I'd like to say something about that game, and I don't mean to dwell on the negative here, but the Rams beat the crap out of the Seahawks yesterday. It was never a game. And I'd like to know why Russell Wilson was still playing late in the game when they were down by 40 points and getting sacked 7 times in the game. I'd like to know where Pete Carroll's brain is at times. That absolutely makes no sense to me, Dave.
No, I agree. It just really doesn't make any sense. That's the NFL. They just don't take guys out the NFL, and I don't know why. I don't understand a lot of things in the NFL. Here's one. I'll just throw this out. The Bengals are completely out of it. Marvin Lewis has been fired. He's going to finish off the season. I don't know why they're doing that. If the coach is fired, then fire him. That's it. It's done. They've got a backup quarterback they should be taking a look at in McCarron. I mean, Carson Palmer is not Carson Palmer. Andy Dalton is not their quarterback in the future. Okay? His window is closed. He's going the wrong direction. And he was never more than an average guy to begin with. Why would you not start McCarron in the final two games? Yet Lewis already said, no, it's going to be Dalton. I don't get it. I don't think. And maybe I'm not shocked because you know what? They don't win anything anyway. I mean, they made the playoffs, but they've never even won one game. So maybe I'm not as dumb as they are. I'd have McCarron on the field in these last 2 games. See what he can do.
Well, you know, I don't understand the inner workings of a football team. The only football I ever played was in high school, and it wasn't at a very high level. the mentality, there seems to be a culture in football about benching players and replacing players, etc., and things like that. And some coaches adhere to it and others don't. I mean, there was always this thing where you can't lose your job to an injury. It's so. And I remember years ago, crazy stuff like Doug Flutie winning every game when Rob Johnson was out and he got healthy, and then the owner insists that you put Rob Johnson in the playoffs, and of course he proceeds to lose the game. But that's been going on forever. Now there's other guys that don't do that, like Belichick when Bledsoe went down and Brady was there, and he said, "Okay, Brady takes over," and Brady keeps playing. He kept the job, so he did lose the job because of injuries. But there's different cultures and different attitudes by these guys. I mean, there's a little bit of that going on in Minnesota. When a couple of weeks ago, Zimmer was talking about starting Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, the guy hadn't played 2 years, and the guy that's in there at that point had won like 5 or 6 straight games for you. Now it's like 8 out of 9 or 9 out of 10, and playing remarkable. But there is a culture, Dave, that I don't think you or I are privy to, and it really comes down to the mental positioning the head coach takes. I don't get it. Yes, Dalton is not your guy for the future. You should check out what you got on the bench. And, I don't get it. You and I get it. But we're not paid the big bucks to run these teams. And, we would do it differently.
Okay, let's move on to the game, because this was unbelievable. We had 2 unbelievable finishes last night. The late game in the afternoon between the Patriots and Steelers, and then the Cowboys and Raiders. Let's talk about the Steelers first. The rule is what the rule is. And, Jim, I don't agree with the rule. I think it needs to be changed. But based on the letter of the law, it was actually called correctly by replay. It was an incomplete pass. And then that Big Ben decides to throw a slant for some reason. I don't know why they do that. Should have been a fade, or they'll throw it away and put the field goal. But anyway, it's the biggest call of the season. And while I strongly disagree with the way the NFL rules possession on these receptions, but as long as the rule is the way the rule is, then replay got it right. That's the way it goes. That's a tough beat, or a tough non-win, so we say, for anybody who took Pittsburgh plus the 3.
Not to mention the total. The total, here's I want to recap it this way. If you're running the ball and you cross the goal line, it's automatically a touchdown. Even if you fall and hit the ground and the ball comes loose. If you're catching the ball and running into the end zone, if you hit the ground, you still have to maintain possession, and the ball cannot come loose at all or appear to be loose. I like to know the difference between a runner and a wide receiver and why that rule is so different. It's absolutely asinine. And we saw it a couple of years ago with Des Bryant against Green Bay. We see these rules, they make no sense. I don't know who makes the rules, but they shouldn't be doing anything but sweeping a floor somewhere. They don't qualify to have, the things that just pisses me off. And millions of dollars changed hands yesterday on that play call. And not to mention your over and under season win totals for these teams were all changed by that one ruling. There's no integrity, because one set of officials will call it one way, another set will call it another way. So, as an investor in lots of things, I have problems with that. We all love to watch football, and my favorite sport to watch is professional football. But there's a tremendous deterioration in the integrity of these calls. But anyway, like you said, that was not the officials, because the officials actually called it the way it's written. So it's who made that rule. I don't know. And why did they accept it? And are they need to modify it?
It's the NFL rules. I mean, they've had some front, really weird stuff out here. Look how long it took them to change the touch rule.
Oh my God, yes. How come the Patriots are always the benefactor of all these rules? it's
Well, they were last night. Although, the one thing is, on this particular type of play, they've called this the same way all season long. So they've been consistent with it, and we'll give them that. Meanwhile, the Raiders end up losing, and this drives me nuts. This absolutely drives me nuts, Jim. This bit with the guys reaching out, leaving the ball unprotected, and losing it. This has happened 3 or 4 times this year, where teams that were going to score a touchdown end up losing possession of the ball, and it's a touchback. I mean, you've got to protect the ball. And this was a terrible play by Derek Carr, inexcusable, and it ended the Raiders' season. I mean, they got a good chance to win the game right here. At worst, they're going to get to overtime. And instead, their season is now over. They're not. They didn't have much of a chance to playoffs anyway. But if they win that game, they're still alive. They're not now. And that's just a stupid play by Derek Carr.
Well, I agree, totally 100% agree. And you go back to the game you just talked about with Big Ben and throwing the pass that he did. There were 6 Patriots around that ball when he threw that. And like you said, a fade pattern or an out pattern, something like that, would have been much smarter, much safer play. It made absolutely no sense. But Carr, Roethlisberger, I mean, in the heat of the moment, these guys are making some very questionable decisions. But, you know, it is what it is.
All right, tonight, Falcons and Bucks. It's pretty obvious here, at least from a lead standpoint. It's a big game for Atlanta. They are right now the last team in as far as the NFC playoffs are concerned. So clearly they need to win the game. Tampa, the game means nothing to them other than pride, but being that this is a Monday Night Football game at home, they will treat this as what amounts to their Super Bowl. They would love to knock the defending champion or NFC champion Falcons out of the playoff race, or at least out of the position they're in right now. So you should get a good effort from the home team.
Well, yeah, these teams, you know, even though teams are out of playoff contention, the players are still fighting for their jobs. Not everybody's guaranteed, you know, that they're going to be the starting quarterback or the starting lineman or everything else. They have to fight for their positions because there's always new people available and new people coming out of college that can move in. So they always try. I should say that. I do say that with kind of tongue-in-cheek, because there are certain teams in the last couple weeks that look like they totally quit. One specifically, Cincinnati. Cincinnati looks like they haven't gotten off the bus in 2 weeks.
They're done. And the timing of, by the way, the timing of the Lewis filing is just bizarre. All I know is this: they're done. Houston's done, and I think you find that the teams that have had tremendously disappointing seasons in terms of where they were supposed to be and where they ended up, it's more likely that they might kind of bail it in late in the season. I don't know if Tampa falls in that. They might fall in that category. They had a high hopes this season, but I do think for one home game, and again, I'm not recommending Tampa here. I'm not recommending them at all. I'm just saying that I think they'll come to play tonight. Now they might not the last 2 weeks. Which will really be meaningless games for them. And I think they could be a go against in the last 2 games. Here, we'll see what happens. The Falcons are going to be the popular side of this game, but still under a touchdown, Jim.
Actually, Dave, it's not actually anymore. It's pretty much across the board. It's 7 now. This is
right.
I see 7 in it. I got 11 books up on my screen, and 5 of them, actually 6. Just went to 7.
Yeah, I'm seeing that's just taking place now. It was 6.5 shoots, and now it's 7. So one thing, if you're looking at sharp money, it isn't showing up on the Tampa side of the game. So those are put stock on the sharp money.
Yeah. Well, we do have opening lines for next week that are kind of interesting. I don't know if we have time to go over them or if you want to, but on Saturday we have two games. One of them has lines. Baltimore is 13.5 over Indianapolis. I'll just go to the games that have some meaning to them. Detroit is 4.5 on the road at Cincinnati. I would predict that game's going to go higher. I don't see how it couldn't.
So do I.
The Chargers, I think, are still mathematically in this thing for a wild card. They're 7.5 on the road at the Jets. The Rams have to keep winning. They can't just mail it in the last 2 weeks. They're 6.5, 7 at Tennessee. And Tennessee has got something to play for also. Chicago and Cleveland, I won't even mention that one. Tampa's going to be at Carolina, and right now Carolina's 10.5, but that's really just an out price right now. New Orleans and Atlanta, that's a big one. New Orleans 5.5 at home against Atlanta, but again they're playing. Atlanta's playing tonight, so it really doesn't matter. You have to go down here. Kansas City, I think Kansas City, you just have to lock them up. They're in, right? There's no question about that. They're 10 or 11 at home against Miami.
And by the way, the weather in that game, early forecast, is not going to be nice weather. Not nice at all. Could be really nasty. It gets pretty cold and wet. And that's not Miami weather.
I was just going to say Miami would not like that weather. They're not used to that. Buffalo plays in New England. I mean, you still have some possibilities there. New England's 12.5, 13. That seems awful high to me. Jacksonville is in the playoffs for the first time in 10 years. They're 4.5 on the road at San Francisco, and someday we have to talk about this trade from New England to San Francisco for Garoppolo. This kid actually looked pretty damn good. You got
He's so talented. He looks like a veteran out there. This guy can play. He's a keeper.
Sure is. I mean, they've won 3 games with him, and they're playing good. I don't know that Jacksonville won't kind of a little bit mail it in here. I mean, they know they're in the playoffs. They got the 3 seed, so I'm not too sure about that one. The Giants in Arizona means nothing. Seattle, Seattle and Dallas are still in the mix, surprisingly. Because it's Christmas Eve, there is no Sunday night football game. But there are 2 Monday games, Dave, this week, in case people didn't know that. Pittsburgh at Houston. Pittsburgh's 10. Oakland at Philly. And Philly is 9 or 10. So that's the lineup for this coming week. I'm pretty much done. Are you done, Dave?
I am done.
Okay. Everybody out there, Dave's picks, my picks, Hank's picks. By the way, Hank had a strange weekend. In the contest, he was 1-1-3. I mean, how do you push 3 games out of 5? What a remarkable thing to happen. He picked up 2.5 points. By me?
He didn't really. I mean, he didn't help himself or hurt himself.
No, he picks up 2.5 points because you get 1 point for victories and 0.5 point for ties. So he picked up 2.5 points, but with so many ties on the board, you got to figure other people didn't pick up much either. So I don't think he hurt himself. I don't know that he improved anything, but I don't think he hurt himself. But he is still in line to win $1 million in there, so he's going to have to pick up 9 or 10 winners, I think, in the next 2 weeks. And it's doable. Thank you, Dave. Everybody, the picks are on JimFeist.com, VegasSportsmasters.com, and we'll talk to you in a couple of days. We'll talk to you tomorrow, actually.